Good morning. It's great to be with all of you today, whether you're joining us in person or online. I'm Jocelyn, OUUC Media Specialist. I use they, them, or she, her pronouns. Welcome to all who are joining us on whatever platform you are using. This in-person service is being live streamed on Zoom, and it is streaming live to YouTube. If you are online and experience any technical issues during the service, you can reach out to me or any other member of the tech team for assistance when the chat is on. A couple notices for those in person today. First, please turn the volume off on any devices to avoid feedback and to keep that center microphone from broadcasting these sounds to our online audience. Please also note that you can see the people online and view the chat on the screen right there, or for the choir right there. We ask that you please keep your mouth and nose covered by your mask while you are here for everyone's safety. For those joining us online, please be aware we are picking up the full sound of this space. That means you will hear the full amplified sound of the worship leaders and the piano and the choir, as well as things like wind and traffic and birds and dogs and noise from the congregants seated here. Last, for those online, I hope you will find a candle or a chalice, and in a moment we will light them together. Thank you for your grace and adaptability. As we all remember, it's about connection, not perfection.
Good morning. Let's sing together hymn number 1014, Standing, Answering the Call of Love. If you're online, you can find the lyrics posted in the chat, or the lyrics are found in your order of service.
Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of praise in every embrace, fulfilling the vision inside. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Thank you for singing. Thank you, Hannah, for holding my pages.
Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation worship service. We welcome each of you to this celebration of love and to this congregation. The OUUC community comes together in the mutual promises and possibilities of our covenant. We envision an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. We're so glad that you are here. My name is Alicia Seegers Martinelli. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. Leading worship with me today is our minister, the Reverend Mary Gear, Troy Fisher, our music director, and Sarah Lewis, our director of community and faith development. We are grateful for the many hands that helped make worship happen this morning. Thank you to the ushers, the greeters, the breakout room hosts, the tech team members, and all who contribute in so many ways. After the service, everyone will have the chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Mary. For those online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual coffee chat. This is a chance to gather with a small group to say hello and check in. Each breakout room will be hosted by someone to help make sure everyone knows each other and has a chance to share. For those in person, please feel free to bring the reflection questions into your discussions. Or if you want to join a group, you can join Sarah by the shed or Reverend Mary by the trees. The questions are printed on the order of service. We hope that you will join the discussion wherever you are today. Reverend Carol McKinney joins Reverend Mary and Troy for the Thursday evening spiritual practice this week at 7 p.m. They will offer words and music on the monthly theme of loving. You can find the Zoom link on the OUUC website. Next Sunday, Reverend Mary turns to the pulpit with a question box service, which you can help create. Send in your theological questions and she'll answer them in the service next week. Email your questions to Reverend Mary at minister@ouuc.org. There are many opportunities to stay connected to our community. Please check the website regularly. If you have questions or need help, please check in with a staff member. Now, let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You can't know how wonderful it is to have a response back. So today I bring the sad news that OUUC friend Roberta Smith died unexpectedly on Saturday, September 25th, after struggling with multiple medical issues. Roberta and her partner, Michael Marsh, attended OUUC up until the pandemic. Michael wanted Roberta's friends at OUUC to know of her passing, remembering the people who made Roberta feel welcome and loved in the time that she attended. In addition to Michael, Roberta leaves behind 4 children and 3 grandchildren, including her grandson, Ryan, who she was helping to raise. Michael describes Roberta as a fierce grandmother. Roberta served Elzers as a nurse for many years, leaving her profession when she became ill. I have fond memories of Roberta sitting in the front row of the sanctuary, her eyes closed, taking in the music of the choir. Roberta did not want a memorial service. Her family plans to erect a headstone in her memory in Shelton, where she is from. Roberta, may you rest in peace. We light this candle in memory of Roberta Smith.
morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together to these words by Katie Gelfand, titled "The Abundance of Our Lives Together." We light our chalices as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this space, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us.
Our opening words this morning are Constellations of Our Lives, written by Karen G. Johnston. Humans make maps of stars, choosing some stars, ignoring others, to project our imaginations upon the heavens. These maps shift over time and across cultures. Names change for the same assemblage of bright points. Drinking Gourd, Big Dipper, Plow, Lost Hunters, Saptarishi. Humans make constellations by connecting stars. Humans make meaning by connecting stories. Story to narrative to story. Some blaze bright, some are faint. Most are backdrops to the great and mundane human unfolding. Let us imagine the stories of our lives as a starry universe above our heavens. As leaders of this congregation, we are tasked and trusted to draw constellations in this, our beloved small universe. May the stories we connect draw constellations that reflect the shared ministry that calls out the best in us. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing again together. The microphones we're using for the choir are so sensitive to all the noise that's around every time a car comes by. We're going to sing together This Little Light of Mine. It's hymn number 118 in the gray hymnal, or you can find it in your order of service, or the lyrics posted in the chat.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine,
story that I have to share with you today is by a friend and colleague named Tim Atkins. It's called The Umbrella Sanctuary. And this is a sound effect story, which I haven't been able to do in so long. So I'm going to need your help for the sound effects. There's a couple times in the story where I'm going to say boom. And I need you all to reply with a loud boom after I say that. Let's practice. Boom.
Boom!
That's pretty good. One more time. Boom.
Boom!
Excellent. All right. So once upon a time, as of course the story has to begin, there was a little girl who was walking down the street, just walking home, normal day, reading a book as she went. And then suddenly it started raining really hard. She looked around and quickly ducked inside a shop to get out of the rain. It was a shop that she had never been in before. And just as she got inside and closed the door, there was a flash of lightning, and then there was a boom of thunder. And she realized she might be stuck in that shop for a long time. Well, just then the shopkeeper came out, and she was kind of scary. She was a really big woman, and the little girl thought she was really old, like way older than her grandma. And just a person that this little girl had never encountered before. "Can I help you?" the shopkeeper asked. And the little girl was kind of intimidated, so she just pointed outside at the rain. Shopkeeper said kindly, "You came inside to get out of the rain. Well, you're really welcome to stay here. We have a sturdy roof over our heads." Or, and then she went and got something from behind the counter. What do you think she had? An umbrella. "Or you can take this portable shelter with you to get home." The little girl took the umbrella and started to leave, to walk out of the shop. And then she remembered and turned back. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said. "I don't have any money." "That's okay," said the shopkeeper. "Just remember to pass the umbrella on to somebody else in need when you have the chance." So the little girl took the umbrella and was walking home. And as she walked, suddenly there was another boom,
Boom!
which startled her. And she looked around and noticed a man in distress. There was a man there wearing a nice suit, but trying to stay dry with nothing but a newspaper held over his head. And the little girl couldn't know this, but the man was having a really bad day. He had been out of work for a while, was getting pretty desperate, and he was wearing a nice suit today because he had a job interview. And he had to walk because he couldn't afford a car anymore. And he was going to get to this job interview soaking wet and bedraggled, which he didn't think was going to be a very good first impression. Well, the little girl didn't know that, but she did remember what the shopkeeper had said. So she lifted the umbrella up as high as she could, and she came over and held it over the man. And he said, "Oh, thank you so much." And then the little girl thought, I'm pretty close to home already. And when I get there, I know there's going to be a sturdy roof over my head and as much hot chocolate as I want to drink to get warm again. So she said, "You know what? Here, you keep the umbrella." And the man said, "Oh no, I can't possibly take your umbrella." She said, "No problem. You just go ahead and take it, and remember to give it to another person in need when you can." And so the man took the umbrella. And the little girl skipped on home, got plenty of hot chocolate, and forgot all about it. But the man didn't forget about it. He went on to get that job. He had plenty of shelter. He could afford a car again. But he always remembered to have an extra umbrella to give to a person in need. And he would tell them to pass it on to a person in need when they could. And pretty soon, all over that little town, there were people with extra umbrellas. So whenever a person needed shelter, there it was. Thus ends our story. Thank you.
stewardship team has a message for us this morning. If you're here in person, you should be able to see the video on the screen.
I lived on the west side at the time, and I wanted a neighborhood church, a new one, and I didn't even know it was here. And I was driving down Division, and the parking lot was going in, and so then you could see the church. And for me, I looked at it, and it's like this church on the hill, and I felt really, really drawn to it. At the same time, I saw that Unitarian Universalism, and I thought, what in the heck is that? This church might be seriously weird. So I really kind of held off, and then I thought, oh, get over yourself. It's pulling at you. Just, it's pulling at you. Go. And so I came, and it wasn't weird. It was different, and it took me a while to get used to those differences. But I'm glad I trusted my gut and came, and it's been a good fit.
I am a lifelong Unitarian, and so when I moved to Olympia, I looked up the Unitarians, and at the time we were the only one, and so I've been coming since 1989. We've raised our daughter in this congregation, and the activities for children and youth have been really important to us. I was actually a RE teacher even before I had my daughter, and the community has been very important for her growing up as well.
When I tell my friends that I go to church, sometimes I get raised eyebrows. They're surprised I go to church, and I say, well, I go to OUUC, which is a different kind of church, certainly than what I grew up in, which was the Catholic Church. And then I tell them that's this amazing place where you get to experience these wonderful sermons and beautiful music and meet a lot of like-minded friends, and that it provides so many opportunities to grow personally and educate yourself. Back when we had in-person classes, but even on Zoom, I took classes last year, and it's just given me so many new opportunities to think about things I didn't think about before, especially what a white privileged life I've led, and what kinds of things should I think about doing for people that have not had those privileges, and that this church offers opportunities to get involved in ways to work in social justice and environmental justice. It's sort of limitless what you can become exposed to and choose to interact with at this church called OUUC.
The people have been wonderful. I felt welcomed the first day I came in the door, and there's so much going on. I mean, there's activities like the book sale, and there's classes, and I have a book club I love. There's a lot going on. So for spirituality and for camaraderie.
OUUC is a really great community, lots of wonderful people, and they're very active in social justice and environmental activism and just big thinkers. And I really enjoy the kinds of social activities and opportunities for service that the congregation provides.
It's sort of limitless what you can become exposed to and choose to interact with at this church called OUUC.
We came together. We came together this morning, bringing all that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on the strength of our community to hold all that we bring here with us today. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life, ours and others. If you would like to send in something to share, please look for the link on the online worship page on the OUUC website, or send me an email and we'll bring it into the service next week. You will hear a drum beat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. Right now, let's just take a moment to take a breath together. In and out. As we open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives today. We send our love and care to the family of Roberta Smith, and especially her partner, Michael Marsh, and her grandson, Ryan. I know that Roberta suffered greatly in her last months. May her spirit rest in peace. Sage Barber shares that September 30th marked 10 years since he and his wife quit smoking. Sage says it's been hard, but we did it. Congratulations to you both, Sage. That is not an easy accomplishment. May your recovery continue in all the ways that you may need. And one more joy to share. My heart was filled yesterday as I joined so many from OUUC and hundreds of people at the Capitol to march in solidarity for reproductive justice. Thank you all. Okay. And now for those of you who are online, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat on your screen. This is a time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows and whatever else is shared from your heart. And as we take in what is posted, we'll hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care. For those who are in person today, I invite you to come forward if you have something you would like to share. Please come up through the center and return to your seats by the side. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. We'll place a stone in the water for all that has been shared from the heart. A stone holding the complexity of our lives, held in the water of our community. And one more stone placed in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. I invite you now into a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer. Infinite web of life, sweet spirit of love, great mystery that holds us all. In this moment of stillness, we offer gratitude for this time in community and for this community itself. We take a moment to notice what is stirring in us, whatever that may be, what is waiting to be heard and brought into awareness. We take a moment to notice that we are connected to each other. It is from this abundance that we deepen our gratitude for all that is. As we listen to that which is stirring in us, may we be open to transformation, knowing that all of our experiences offer us the opportunity to learn and grow. It is from this abundance that we deepen our connection to all that is. As we open our hearts to receive all that is present today, within us, between us, and among us, may we know the gift of compassion. May we offer that gift to ourselves and each other, holding with care all that is here and all who are here in all the ways we are. It is from this abundance that we deepen our compassion, drawing from the deep well of love. It's always love. With gratitude for all that is within us, between us and among us, we give thanks. Amen, and blessed be. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
It takes some starts and stops to hold a paradox, all that's boundless and forever with an ever-ticking clock. I am every lonely ache and all the times I knew to wait. I am all that I did right, and I am every bad mistake. It is love that breaks your heart, love that tears the world apart, always love that makes it worth it in the end. It's always love, it's always love again. I don't know what to say. There are no words anyway. Some things are wider than words that only echo and fade. But there are sentences and songs, the ones I've always carried on. I can sing while I am here, and you can sing when I am gone. It is love that breaks your heart, love that tears the world apart, always love that makes it worth it in the end. It's always love again. It's old and yet it's new, luminous and true. The best that we can love is the most that we can do. I keep trying to understand and to hold it in both hands, how to know what can't be done and still envision all that can. I am everything I've found, and I am everything I've lost. I am all that I've been given, and I'm everything it cost. It is love that breaks your heart, love that tears the world apart, always love that makes it worth it in the end. It's always love again.
Our prayers and meditations deepen our gratitude for what we know as sacred in our lives and in this world. Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. The offering collected here does two things. It supports the ongoing works of OUUC, which is also supported by your regular pledges. And it supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. This month, our Share the Plate recipient is Rebuilding Together Thurston County, or RTTC. And they provide free handicap modifications and home repairs for nonprofit facilities and low-income homeowners who are seniors, disabled, military veterans, and our families with young children. Through critical home repairs and ADA modifications in underserved communities, Rebuilding Together Thurston County addresses a connection between health and housing while preserving the existing affordable housing landscape. Please note that you can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website or by texting the number that will appear on the screen in just a moment. You can also mail a check to OUUC or place your offering in one of the baskets that the ushers will bring around. Kayla Parker, a UU young adult, reminds us that many of our financial contributions come from sacrifice and hard work. With gratitude, we commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May this offering sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
When we walk, when we sleep, when we rise, we are one. When we laugh, other with all our soul and our might. When we stand, when we fall, we are one. In the cold, in the heat, and we shall love one another with all our hearts, and we shall care for each other with all our soul and our might. When we're with one another, that's the way we must stand. We're my sisters and we try, we must live, or we die. We will read, we will fly, we will rise, we will fly. And these words shall be forever within our hearts, and we shall teach them to our children, and will remember them in our lives. When we sleep, when we rise, we are one. When we laugh, when we sing, when we cry, when we love, we are strong. We
Thank you, choir, and thank you all for your generous gifts. Today's reading is Acquitted of Universalism by Robert R. Walsh. In the newspaper, there was a story about a seminary professor in Kansas City who was put on trial by the Southern Baptist, accused of being a Universalist. It's no wonder they were suspicious. He had publicly stated his belief that all people are born into the world children of God. And as if that were not enough, he also supported the ordination of women. Case closed. The professor denied the charges. "I'm not a Universalist," he said, and he convinced them. After 4 hours of deliberation, they voted 21-11 to let him keep his job. Now, I confess to being a Universalist. In fact, I am a Unitarian Universalist. But I wonder, if I were arrested and charged with being one, would there be enough evidence to convict me. The Kansas City story proves that having the right beliefs is not enough. The professor believed that we are all siblings, that every person has a piece of the divine spark, that women are the equals of men in the sight of God. But that was not enough to bring in a guilty verdict. No, if they are going to pin Unitarian Universalism on me, they will have to be able to show that I participated and supported a Unitarian Universalist church. That is the only way to be sure. Beliefs, no matter how noble, must be embodied in a living institution or they will have no convicting power. This ends our reading.
In June of 1958, Mildred Jetter and Richard Loving traveled from their home in Virginia to Washington, D.C. to be married. This may not have been especially notable, except that Richard was white, Mildred was African American and Native, and interracial marriage was illegal in Virginia. As newlyweds, Richard and Mildred returned to their home in Central Point, Virginia, and a few weeks later, police stormed their home at 2 a.m. and arrested them both. They were charged with miscegenation, a word meaning any marriage or interbreeding among people of different races, which was considered a felony in Virginia. A year later, Mildred and Richard pled guilty to the charge, and the county judge sentenced them each to 1 year in prison, but suspended the sentence on the condition that they leave Virginia and not return together for a period of 25 years. The couple moved to DC, where they raised their family. In 1963, weary of their exile, Mildred wrote to U.S. Attorney General Robert Kennedy asking for his help. Kennedy referred them to the American Civil Liberties Union, and two young lawyers took their case all the way through the appeal process and finally before the U.S. Supreme Court. Arguing the Lovings case before the High Court, Philip Hirschkopf said that Virginia's interracial marriage law and others like it were rooted in racism and white supremacy. He claimed, quote, "These are not health and welfare laws. These are slavery laws, pure and simple." On June 12, 1967, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous decision that Virginia's ban on interracial marriage violated the 14th Amendment to the US Constitution. 9 years after Richard and Mildred were married, the court's final ruling in Loving v. Virginia struck down interracial marriage bans that existed in 16 states, including Virginia. Now, although Washington state repealed its ban on interracial marriage shortly after the Civil War, historians agree that it was done based on the belief that the laws would eventually not hold up in court. Instead, interracial marriage in Washington was restricted by rules and procedures on how marriage license could be issued and who could own property. Newspaper editorials over the years lamented the existence of interracial marriage, and legislative bans were regularly introduced, although not ever passed. More than 50 years after the Supreme Court Loving decision, we know that changes to laws are important, and as hard as they are, may be easier than changing hearts, minds, and culture. I have always delighted in the fact that this landmark civil rights case is named Loving, after a couple who only wanted to love who they loved. The case came to mind for me as I reflected on our spiritual theme for this month, which is loving. This word is part of OUUC's new vision of a world that is loving, just, and healthy. I've suggested that we use these words as our spiritual themes for the next few months so we can deepen our understanding of why we selected them for our vision together. This case reminds us that loving sometimes means challenging what is, especially if it is harmful or unjust. Richard and Mildred knew that their love was not illegal and that the law needed to be changed. In our time, many of our institutions are being challenged for a variety of reasons. The legal and judicial systems are being named as biased and unjust, as Black, Indigenous, and people of color are arrested, tried, and convicted more than whites, and serve longer sentences. Our public health and healthcare systems are challenged as Black, Indigenous, and people of color are more likely to suffer from preventable health conditions and lack access to healthcare. Our education system is criticized for not recognizing differences and how that can affect learning. It is easy to be anti-institution these days. Just burn it down and start over can be a tempting slogan. There are plenty of reasons to mistrust. And yet I admit to being an institutionalist. I believe that there are some things that it takes an institution to do, like education and healthcare, and that our institutions are worthy of our attention and our care. And I confess to being an idealist who believes that institutions can be used for good. Our institutions reflect the larger societal values. They can be loving, just, and healthy, or not. It is up to us. Loving and tending our institutions means supporting them in all the ways we can and challenging them to be even better. I believe that it is possible to love something or someone just as they are, including ourselves, and know that there is room for improvement both at the same time. A faith community is a place where we tend our souls. And by soul, I mean that spark of life, the spark of divinity that is within each of us. In people, it's the spark that leaves our bodies when we die. Now, where it goes is a topic for another day, if anywhere. A community can also have a soul. It's the spirit of the gathering in all the ways we gather, the sense that coming together is larger than a collection of individuals. And an institution can have a soul as well. Congregational consultant Susan Beaumont says that the soul of a faith institution is, quote, the authentic and truest self of the institution, the source of its divine calling and character, the protector of institutional integrity. The institution of our faith community has a soul, and it is our vision and mission, worthy of our stewardship. At its best, a faith community supports us as individuals as we tend our own souls with faith formation, or religious education, naming and claiming our dearest values and asking big questions. Together, we tend the soul of our community by being together in covenant. But as our reading today reminded us, beliefs, no matter how noble, must be embodied in a living institution or they will have no convicting power. So we tend to the soul of our institution by acting to support our vision and mission. Beaumont goes on to say that tending institutional soul requires nurturing organizational effectiveness and spiritual wholeness as one, both organizational and spiritual leadership. 2.5 years ago, when this congregation was in search of your next minister, you were clear that you wanted a spiritual leader and a skilled administrator. You were seeking a minister who would tend to the soul of this institution. Every parish minister is an institutionalist in some way, I would say, because we serve a congregation, which is an institution, and we serve the larger community, which is full of institutions of all kinds. Every Unitarian Universalist minister is expected to be a competent spiritual leader and a competent administrator. And no minister does these things alone. No minister tends the soul of an institution on their own. Tending to the soul of our institutions, including OUUC, is part of our shared ministry. It's the practice of tending to our spiritual lives and tending to the governance, how we share power and how we make decisions. It's how we embody our values, bringing love, justice, and health into each of these. This month is OUUC's Stewardship Drive, the time when we are asked to draw on the abundance and give generously to support this institution. This year, you will be asked to share your many gifts with the OUUC community in support of the new vision and mission. You can share your financial gifts through a pledge. You can share your time and talents by completing the skills and interest survey that you'll hear about, and by volunteering in ways that tend your soul, as well as the soul of the institution. Your gifts are welcome and appreciated here. Stewardship means tending to something of value, taking care of something, careful and responsible management of something that we love. Stewarding this institution is part of tending its soul. And in the process of noticing what we care for and love, we tend our souls, nurturing gratitude and calling for justice. How we tend to our institutions reflects how we tend to ourselves and to each other. We tend to the institution so that we can be transformed and we can transform the world. This year, as we have for the past 2 years, my husband John and I made a financial contribution to OUUC, a financial commitment to this congregation. We've been a part of Unitarian Universalist congregations for over 30 years, and we believe that part of belonging is stewardship of the institution. I'm committed to our faith tradition because I believe Unitarian Universalism has something important and life-saving to offer in this hurting world. It is a faith grounded in love, a love that can be life-giving and life-sustaining, a love that everyone is worthy of. I support Unitarian Universalism and OUUC not because we are perfect, but because we are courageous and vulnerable enough to admit that we are imperfect and we begin again in love. I support Unitarian Universalism and OUUC, not because we have it all figured out and wrapped up neatly tied with a bow, but because we are in the messy, magnificent work of making community. Won't you join in making a commitment to OUUC? Richard and Mildred Loving simply wanted to live as a married couple, near family in a place where their families had lived for generations, and in the home that Richard built for them. They wanted to enjoy their love for each other and have it recognized by their community. They challenged institutions as they were known then, and their actions transformed the law and the world, leaving a legacy of love. We can take a lesson from the actions of the Lovings. May we love and tend the institution that we have, calling them to be even better, leaving a legacy of generosity and love. May we remain open to the possibility of transformation in ourselves and in our institutions. And may we remain grounded in the love that never lets us go as we work for a world that is loving, just, and healthy. By our actions, we make it so. Let's bring that vision into a moment of silence together as we breathe.
Let's sing together hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. You can find the lyrics in the order of service. They're posted in the chat.
We extinguish our chalices with these words adapted from Michael Schuler. If you are proud of this congregation, become its advocate. If you are concerned for its future, share its message. If its values resonate deep within you, give it a measure of your devotion. This congregation cannot survive without your faith, your confidence, your enthusiasm. Its destiny, the larger hope, rests in your hands. May we move in peace.
In a moment, we will sing our Unison Benediction together. For those of you online, please stay in the Zoom meeting if you'd like to join in virtual coffee and conversation following the service. You will see an invitation pop up that will invite you to join a breakout room. Please introduce yourself to anyone you don't know. If you're not planning to stay for coffee chat, it helps us divide evenly if you find the red Leave Meeting button and step out. The coffee chat breakout rooms will end after about 20 minutes, and we will warn you 1 minute before they end. For those of you here in person, please stay at your seats through the postlude, which ends the service. Afterward, you can join in a reflection circle in the back corner or over by the shed, or just stay to chat. If you are new to OUUC, we'd love to hear from you. You can fill out a visitor card at the link in the chat, or please talk to a greeter. Thank you for building community today.
Let's sing together our Unison Benediction.
We are part of the web of life. We are